Hello, my name is Mitch and I draw Blood Force, and today we're taking a delightful romp through that candy-colored carnival of a comic called Spawn. But first, if you're a fan of the channel, or you want to support me as an artist, or you want to see Blood Force come out more often, the best thing to do is to open up the description and click on the link there. That'll take you to my Patreon. That's where all these videos go before they get uploaded to YouTube. That's also where all the Blood Force stuff goes. Or you can go over to Instagram or Twitter and DM me there, because commissions are now open. I do have the pricing set up. So all of this together, we are going to make Blood Force a self-sufficient venture at some point. And with your help, it'll happen sooner. So yeah, we're picking up where we left off with Spawn. We've been kind of jumping all over the map a little bit. We hit into 1994 a little bit with Killer Instinct crossover with Gen 13, all of that. Meanwhile, Spawn is trucking along. And we kind of need to hit Spawn fairly regularly, because this is the pace car for Image Comics. You know, it's if this is the only one that's coming out pretty close to regularly. So we should be catching up on some of these. So this is Spawn number 5. And can you guess what happens in this one based on the cover? I bet you can. Come on, think about it. This is the Billy Kincaid issue. Yeah, these covers are terrible. I mean, they're good images. This is a hell of an image, and the skyline in the background in particular is very impressive. But I hate the fact that I can't look at a cover of a Spawn issue and know what the hell happened in it. 2 and 3 are like this. 6, I think, with the Overkill cover, you can probably figure it out. But 7, where he's got the guns, Yeah, hell of an image anyway. Alright, so opening her up. We got Todd doing his usual stuff. Tom Morzachowski is the letterer and the editor, which I find funny, particularly given pages like this. Because we know Todd has a tendency to bloviate. He likes to just go on. And, you know, like, a good editor will probably at some point go, you know what, you can trim like 3/4 of this. But a letterer might be like, no, that's pretty good. If in fact, I have some recommendations if you'd like to add a couple of word balloons on there. Color by Steve Olaf. Best of the best. Story consultant, Terry Fitzgerald. Alright. And we're still Malibu. So all of this is a psychiatrist, Billy Kincaid psychiatrist, telling him, this panel here is almost all you need, like the word balloon. And this is all sort of just elaborating on that. And they're talking about how he was a model citizen, and how his lawyer also managed to find a loophole from 1930, or from the 1930s, citing some obscure case from the 30s that helped to get him out. Because the deal with Billy Kincaid, of course, is that he is a child killer. Todd McFarlane has a particular thing for, I think, superheroes tackling real-world problems, but not real-world problems. Like, you know, going after real evil. And, you know, there's an argument to be made for that, at least once in a while. There's also the argument that, you know, comic books are escapist fiction, and that maybe, you know, you don't really want to read about that shit too often. This is already the second story that Todd McFarlane's written in the last 2 years that has to do with child killers. The other one was the Perception storyline in Spider-Man. This is the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, of course, where Spider-Man goes up to Canada and teams up with Wolverine, because that means money, and they hunt after a child killer in the Canadian wilderness. And yeah, this is Wolverine digging up a child. Yep, there we go. It's a great looking story, and also, like, just gross. And grim as fuck. And yeah, Todd thinks that this is important stuff to touch on, and we should do it more often. I'm like, okay. I kind of disagree. I think it gets touched on enough. And this is sort of an elaboration also on the psychiatrist in Dark Knight Returns. Because if you saw it with the enablest psychiatrist, right? Who, through wanting to do good, basically encourages evil. And because Billy Kincaid has been a model citizen and everything, they're going to wave off the kid he killed and the kids he probably killed. And, because he's been so nice. And he's been a model citizen and he's been a gentleman and all this shit. And meanwhile, while he's being told this, Billy Kincaid is silent. And, he looks like this, of course. And the cops are in the room with him. Yeah, they mention here, before he goes, the judge wanted him to remind him that he's not to have any contact with the dead girl's parents. So it's not like they're even glossing over the fact that he killed a child. It's just that, you're better now, obviously. And this is the sort of thing that, I don't know, Todd McFarlane to me feels hopelessly naive about. Because it feels like Todd wants to be morally outraged about things. It feels like he wants to be Frank Miller, honestly. If we look at the back of this issue, we got our ad for the Sin City collection. So, the Sin City series has already been out. So that's a good mile marker. And in that you had stuff like, a killer being ignored by the police because he was friends with a senator, I believe it was, or the most powerful family in Old Town. Ignoring the fact that it's not a child killer. He's killing prostitutes. So that's the kind of thing the police might look the other way on in a particularly corrupt world. And these aren't particularly corrupt policemen. There's no indication really that the police in this world are all that corrupt. But everyone's looking the other way on a child killer. Now, there are, of course, things with, like sexual predators, that kind of thing, where, they get moved around in the system a little bit, and that's fucking repulsive. But child killers, I think, usually get dealt with pretty harshly. And I don't think there's much cause for looking to rehabilitate them, usually. That's just a guess on my part, but it feels fairly accurate. Now, another part of this, of course, is that I think Todd is trying very, very much to come up with a truly detestable villain. From what I understand, this is actually linked to Alan Moore's issue that he'll be writing soon, of Spawn. Where, he needed an evil person to go to hell so that he could travel through the different spheres of hell. And we'll get to that eventually. And Todd came up with the most reprehensible person he could, but then put him in this ridiculous situation where, I don't know, I've always just thought the writer doesn't understand anything about these kind of systems. Not that I do. It's just that, when it's very clear the writer doesn't understand what the fuck he's talking about, it's difficult to move through the story, We're going to get a flashback to when Billy Kincaid was free. And this is all pretty good stuff, and it's pink tinted. And so, you get the idea. It's a flashback, obviously. Back when he was killing children, and we know that he killed 27. And they bring up later on that they couldn't figure out how many children there even were. So, now we know. We know more than the cops. And they're going to lead him away and let him go. And meanwhile, he's muttering the I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream thing. And that, again, just the psychiatrists are like, oh yeah, no, that's just a charming little rhyme, is what that is. That has nothing to do with the fact that he operated an ice cream truck and lured children so that he could murder them. That's just completely coincidence. And Sam's theory is that they want to get rid of him because he creeps them out. And it's like, that's a good enough reason to not hold on to a child killer. Gotcha. Okay. And, alright, so now we're cutting to, well, we're going to find a way to transition to Spawn, sleeping in an alley. By the way, 5 issues in, and he's used up almost like a fifth of his power reserve. So that's good stuff. I believe part of the reason he does turn to the guns later on is as a means of trying to not deplete his power reserve any further once he understands it. Which is good, and I hope that we hit that more often, but I kind of doubt it happens, to be honest. And then Tom Orzechowski, the editor, had a suggestion for Todd. He's like, what if? I mean, you know, Todd's been doing this throughout the entire thing, but, like, does anybody ever read these? This is, I suppose, like, it does give you valuable information. So I'll read the ones. The CNN one is usually fairly basic text, you know, broken down. So, Jeff Pittman, attorney for convicted child killer Bill Kincaid, was finally successful in his attempts to mitigate Kincaid's sentence. The original 22-year term was reduced to 10 years. That, combined with time off for good behavior and time served, make Bill Kincaid a free man tomorrow. It was nearly 8 years ago that a jogger in New York City found Amanda Jennings' body, and Amanda Jennings was an 8-year-old girl who was the daughter of a senator, which they mention here. Jennings' high-profile extramarital affair, why'd I say that so weird, tarnished his re-election bid a year earlier. Some sources felt that his more traditionally oriented former supporters in law enforcement gave the matter less attention than it warranted. So police are ignoring a child killer because they don't like the father too much. Not because they're paid off, just because they don't like the fact that he had an affair. I don't think that cuts it. And then we get the E-Hollywood version and the Rush Limbaugh version. And then we're going to cut to Wanda's house. And she's overlooking her daughter, Cyan, which is, of course, a stand-in for Todd's daughter, Cyan. And Wanda's kind of a stand-in for his wife, Wanda. And everything in here has to be an inside joke. So we've got our Cerebus plushie here. We've got the Felix the Cat doll. Because as we remember, Todd has to put Felix the Cat in everything so that that one guy will buy every issue. And then we've got Todd asleep in an alley. This is a nice mirroring kind of thing. And Moore Miller. Because these are writers that are going to be showing up soon. No Gaiman, eh? No wonder Neil sued you later. And one thing I got to point out is that, like, there's nothing happening in these pages, right? In terms of action on the page. Like, here's another one. Where we're just going over what Sam and Twitch are going to do about Billy Kincaid. And we bring up the fact that Twitch has 7 kids. And they're going to, of their own volition, just kind of stake out Billy Kincaid's shack, essentially. And yeah, like, nothing is going on these pages. Like, this is a pretty good one for doing a flashback kind of sequence. It's mostly people talking, and yet they're all pretty interesting. Like the open panel at the top here with the kind of pseudo silhouettes. It works. The extremely skinny panels, sort of classic Todd stuff. This angle of this house looks good, you know, like everything looks very good. It feels like Todd is back on his A game a little bit. Was there a gap in between 4 and 5? Actually, I wouldn't be surprised because 4 was the end of the miniseries. Not in terms of publication date, anyway. But no, this looks much more high effort than we've seen from Todd for the last few issues. And this last one here, ending with, again, another skyline that looks very good. I don't think this is based off of anything. I think this is Todd's figured out some shortcuts for how to fake a city skyline, and it just looks pretty fucking incredible. Okay, so 2 days later, Billy Kincaid has an ice cream truck out of nowhere, and immediately is going back to picking up children so that he can take them home and murder them immediately. There's the finger painting panel. That's I imagine it's pretty famous now. It feels a bit like Todd's going for trying to get some like EC horror shock. You know, like there's like classic panels in EC comic books or classic covers that just are immediately shocking. So you get that one with the zombie walking in with the axe stuck in his head. You get the needle in the eye. You get the dude pushing the girl over by her face. There's a bunch of those kind of things. There's the head being held with the axe in the hand, all that stuff, which are iconic horror images. And it feels like Todd's trying to do that a little bit with some of these pages. And I think that's kind of what this is. Very cartoony stuff. But luckily, Billy Kincaid has a shack that he can keep all this stuff in. And he's going full baby doll kind of thing. And we cut immediately, that's actually kind of an effective cut, immediately from the torn up bloody dress to Wanda picking up Cyan from daycare. And Spawn watching in his trench coat and fedora. Not creepy at all. And then another transition, we cut from Cyan giggling to the bums laughing while they're huddled around a fire. And again, I think that's pretty good. I think it kind of works. And then while they're sleeping in the alley, the police just scream through the alley. Great looking panel. Great looking page, really. And they do manage to kill one of the bums. Yeah, that's pretty good for like a high octane car driving kind of thing. And he's got some good solutions with these lights. I don't think I've seen Todd draw too many cars, let alone like speeding cars, but like this looks pretty dope. I wonder if he's pulling something for reference to come up with these solutions. Because he might be, like I said, it's not something I've seen a lot of from him. And yeah, so we realize that one of the bums is dead after that. And one of the other ones is ranting about the fact that they let out Billy Kincaid, which is, yep, a suitable thing to be outraged about, no doubt. And then we cut back to, again, this is pre-Todd figuring out how to draw Spawn from this particular angle. Eventually he'd settle on no-nos and it would look better. This looks weird. And I don't know why exactly he had this problem. He drew Spider-Man for a while. Spider-Man has the same difficulties. But apparently that senator was, he hired Al Simmons to hunt down and kill Billy Kincaid. The only thing is Billy Kincaid apparently got caught by the police before he could get to him, which means Al Simmons was an extremely slow hitman, I feel like. And then he was behind bars. And then they found in the shack in an abandoned shack in Northwest Virginia were remains, multiple bodies, all kids, all so mutilated we never did get a final body count. That shack belonged to Billy Kincaid. I'm pretty sure that, along with the fact that they know that he murdered the senator's daughter, would be enough evidence to put him away for life, but apparently not in this universe. And I think we've discovered that Todd is a car guy because the Spawn mobile exists. I forgot this even happened. And it's so fucking dumb. And we get all the specs on it, too. And I'm sure some people care. I don't know how many of those people are comic people. But okay. And be on the lookout for the Spawn Mobile number 2 poster. I'm not sure. I think that means a second Spawn Mobile. So, in case you were wondering, the sales of Spawn have been going well. And now we're going to cut to some more backstory. But again, very imaginatively laid out. Like the chains and everything. This is all very good stuff. And more, it feels like naive storytelling. First, we had enough to get him for 10 lifetimes, but suddenly things started disappearing. Files, photos, containers. Finally, the shack where we found the evidence blew up. So nothing was left. Our proof of untold deaths was gone. So they found the shack with all the dead bodies there, and they went, we should head back to base to figure out what happened, and left all the stuff there, apparently. Apparently, Jennings had some very powerful enemies, people who would hire a psycho to kill a little girl. It's like, okay. So now Billy Kincaid was maybe hired to kill Jennings' daughter. Which doesn't seem to line up with his MO, but okay. And now he's going to go and hunt down Billy Kincaid, because now he has new renewed purpose. And holy shit, is that page awesome. Like, that page is really fucking good. You know, you get the lessening of the detail the further into the background you go. And then the silhouettes in the front. It's just... It feels like perfect understanding of how to do this kind of shot with you know, a roof line, that kind of thing. And, you know, like the motion in the cape and everything. The cape is like, you know, 5 times as long as it normally is. I feel like it would normally go to about here. Yeah. But no, that's fine for this particular image. Yeah. And as much as I'm going to shit on Todd for his writing, and I mean, you know, come on, Tom Orzechowski, like, your hand must be getting cramped by now. You know, dude knows how to make shit look good. And we get Sam and Twitch in their stakeout of Billy Kincaid's shack. And Spawn's going to swing overhead. I don't remember seeing this like in a comic or in like a full page ad, and it fucking should have. This is the only place I remember seeing this, is like this kind of ad. It might, like, maybe this particular ad. So Spawn is going to check in to make sure that Billy Kincaid's up to no good. You know, I mean, like, he just gets there and he looks in and immediately sees the torn and bloody dress, and realizes he's at it again already. And he could go after anybody's kid. He could go after Wanda's kid. And he's not having that. So, a little tink, 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 where he gets Billy's attention, I guess by tapping on the window. That's not bad. And, yeah, this kind of breakdown, the 9-panel grid, I think it kind of works as like a pulse, where you're just like, this is the rhythm, boom, 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 boom. You know? Not bad. And Sam and Twitch see the cape and go, what's that mafia killer doing here? If I recall, Spawn got confused with the Violator. They thought that Spawn was the one ripping out hearts. And now they think he's working with Billy Kincaid. So they run to the house just as Billy sees what's been tapping on the window. And not a bad page. Although, like, Todd really had to rack his brain to think of lines to fill all the space here. You know, this is all fairly easy. That hand looks okay. That one does not. that hand looks tumorous. And maybe he's still wearing the bra under there. I don't know. And weird effect with he's getting with the stubble here. He's getting it all over. I suppose this is just him making ticks. And as soon as Spawn finds him, they kick in the door here. And Billy and Spawn are gone. But there is the evidence of, you know, there's the wig. We got the finger painting. There's bloodstain. I assume the dress is somewhere around here. But, you know, so they've got everything they need to nail Billy, but no Billy. And they go back to police headquarters. Go back to their office, and there's another one of those pages where I think Todd is trying to make an iconic page. And I think he succeeded here. I think this is fairly commonly displayed as, like, you know, a semi-fucked up image from this particular era. And this is Spawn's revenge on Billy Kincaid on behalf of all the kids. So yeah, boys screamed and girls screamed, so I made him scream and scream and scream. And I believe there was actually a statuette of this made. It's like, okay. I'm sure somebody has that displayed in their house, and it's fucking gross. So yeah, that is the story of the death of Billy Kincaid, and it's very kind of icky and kind of naively written, as expected. And so going on to the spawning ground. So here we get the news that the writer's series is coming up. So he's giving us it looks as though this starts with Todd talking with Dave Sim. Because Dave Sim is an indie icon, like an indie comics icon at this time. And he probably had a few talks with Todd at the beginning of this independent comic book company venture, where, you know, he's giving him advice and telling him about pitfalls, that kind of thing. And here's what I would do. So, what started as an ad for Cerebus, I believe that was in Spawn number 3. With I commented on that. Like, that's a weird thing to have an ad, to see it as an ad in here. And then that moved to that pinup of Cerebus as Spawn. And now we're going to have Dave Sim write an issue of Spawn, number 10 specifically. And he's also telling us about how Frank Miller is probably going to write 11. They're not for sure yet. But he did do a pinup that'll be showing up in one of the later issues. And he's just about convinced Frank to write number 11. So that's cool. And then we've got the Alan Moore issue and the Neil Gaiman issue coming up. So that's 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that is... And it, from what I've seen from the later Spawn issues, an awful lot of what comes later in Spawn seems to be based on those 4 issues. But anyway, we'll get to that eventually. And an interesting little note here at the bottom. Attention, I will not be appearing at Atomic Comics in Phoenix. The owner is lying. See, that is all. And then we get a pinup from Jason Pearson. And it's very good. And like cinematic. And interestingly lit. And not imagey, really. It feels like if it was imagey, it would be done for a much more twisted kind of angle. These things would be bigger. These are all like violators, essentially. And when I think Jason Pearson inferred that that's just what demons look like in this world. He's like, yeah, that's fair. That's the only demon he's drawn at this point. It's a great looking image, though. Although it does feel kind of empty. An awful lot of this image is windows. And there's that Dinosaurs for Hire thing again. I don't know who MB is, apart from myself. But no, that's still a pretty good drawing. And an ad for Bram Stoker's Dracula in Topps. That's interesting. I mean, I did the revisit on these already, but I don't remember ever seeing an ad for them. That's weird. And then some Pit, some comic shop news, and Frank Miller's Sin City. So, that's going to do it for Spawn number 5. And I'm kind of glad to get that one out of the way. I've never liked that issue. Either because, like I said, the writing feels kind of naive, or because the subject matter is so gross, or, all this. Like, it looks good. This is one of the better efforts, as I said, that Todd's put forth in a while. Like, yeah, for 2 guys talking in a room, it's very interestingly drawn. And, like, all sorts of fucking word balloons. One thing I didn't like about these, actually, was the colored words as emphasis. So, like, this is okay because it's outlined at least. But, like, here, when guys are screaming and it's in, like, a light yellowish green or greenish yellow, where, like, it's almost unreadable on the video here from what I can see. I don't know how long that continues. Hopefully not very. But yeah, that will do it for Spawn number 5. So, we're moving on to the overt kill 2-parter after this. But, yeah, thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications. Go follow me on Twitter. more importantly, go and subscribe on Patreon. That's where all these videos go before they get uploaded to YouTube. That's where all my Blood Force stuff goes. And if you want to go over to my Instagram, follow me there. I am accepting commissions there now if you'd like to DM me. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.